So the title for the lesson is called Be the Black Sheep. We will get back to what that means later. So first, I would like to focus on verses 13 and 16 of our passage in Matthew 5. If you would like to turn and read it with me. Starting in verse 13. You are the salt of the earth, but if the salt loses its flavor, how shall it be seasoned? It is then good for nothing, but to be thrown out and trampled underfoot by men. You are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hidden. Nor do they light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a lampstand, and gives light to all who are in the house. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. So first, I want to look at these verses and kind of break down each verse and see what it means. In verse 13, God compares Christians to salt. He uses salt because salt influences everything he touches. Christians in life, we should have that same effect. Everywhere we go, we should affect people with the way we talk, the way we act, the way we look. In verse 14, we are called the light of the world. The world is a dark place, full of sin, hatred, dishonesty. We brighten that world. That is something so powerful that we have this light and we can just brighten all these bad things in this world. In verse 15, we are told to not let our light be hidden. No matter the circumstances, we should shine. That means when we are at work, when we are at practice, when we are at school, we should not let our light dim. Just because we are in church shouldn't be the only reason our light shines. Our light should shine no matter where we are. In verse 16, he says, our light should shine in a way that when people see us and our good works, they should glorify our Father in heaven. That means you aren't just doing a good work for yourself. You aren't just doing a good work for a congratulations. When you do a good work, people should look at you and know that you are doing that work for your Father. I'm going to ask you 3 questions today. The first of those questions is, do you look like Christ? If someone who had never met you watches you for a week, would they know that you are a Christian? Being a Christian isn't about just what we call ourselves. It's not just a name. We must live it. Everything we should do should reflect Christ, should reflect the way Christ lived. We should imitate what Christ did on this earth. Galatians 2:20 says, I have been crucified with Christ, and it is no longer I who live, but Christ who lives in me. And the life which I now live in the flesh, I live by faith in the Son of God, who loved me and gave himself for me. When we are baptized, our lives are no longer ours. It's no longer just centered around ourselves. We are living for a bigger purpose. We are living for God's purpose. We shouldn't just look like Christ at church. We shouldn't just change the things we do just because we are in a church. We should look the same as we look in here everywhere we go. Whether that is church, practice, out with our friends, we shouldn't be out cussing and drinking and smoking and doing these things just because we're not at church. We should look the same in here as we look everywhere else. Jesus never promised on this road that it would be easy. He actually said the exact opposite. Let's take a look at Matthew 7 verses 13 through 14. Starting in verse 13. Enter by the narrow gate, for wide is the gate, and broad is the way that leads to destruction. And there are many who go in by it. Because narrow is the gate, and difficult is the way which leads to life. And there are few who find it. It's hard to be different. It's hard to be a Christian. It's hard to not look like the world. If it was easy, everyone would follow Christ. Everyone would be going to heaven. The world doesn't try to help us get to this goal of getting to heaven. To be honest, the world tries to pull us away. The world tempts us with the things we see, the things it puts in front of us, the things it offers us. The world tries to pull us away from this goal of getting to heaven. Jesus came to this earth not just to tell us how to live, he showed us every day. He came to this earth and put himself in our shoes. He became a human. He made himself lesser to give us an example to show us how to live. He showed us that we have an opportunity every day to come and live like him. 1 Peter 2:21 says, "For you have been called for this purpose, because Christ also suffered for you, leaving you an example, so that you would follow in his footsteps." If we are following in his steps, then our lives should start to look like Christ. They should start to reflect Christ. We should start to look just like he did when he lived on this earth. Think about a son who spends a lot of time with his dad, or even a daughter that spends a lot of time with her mom. Eventually, you start to notice some changes. He starts to talk like him, or she starts to act like her. They might even start to have the same mannerisms. But why is that? It's because they see the way that they talk. They see the things they say, and they start to implement what they see from being around them so much. So, the same should be true with Christ. The more time we spend reading his word or studying his life, we should start to look more and more like him every single day. Our next question we are going to look at is, how do we start to look like Christ? 1 Peter 2:21, the verse that we talked about him coming to this earth and being an example, Jesus left us an example. If we are going to look like Christ, we need to study how he lived and follow in those footsteps. So we are going to study some of those characteristics of Jesus to help us look more like him. Our first characteristic we're going to study about Jesus' life is the love he showed. John 13:34-35, we will read that together. Starting in verse 34. "A new commandment I give to you, that you love one another as I have loved you, that you also love one another. By this, all will know that you are my disciple, if you have love for one another." He didn't tell us to just love the people we like, love the people that are in our family, or love other Christians. He tells us to love everyone, no matter the circumstances. Do people experience the love of Christ when they are around you? Do people see the things you do and know that that is the love of God? You should show these people that love with your actions. There's many different ways you can show your love. Being there for someone, going to visit someone, even holding a door for someone. There's so many ways you can show the love of God. So you need to show that love with your actions and the things you do every day. You should show your love even to those who you think don't deserve it. Jesus did. The people that mock you, the people that say bad things about you, the people who are rude to you, you should show that same love to them, because Jesus did. Jesus got the same hate we did every day, and yet still loved those people the same way. The coworker that annoys you, or the teammate that disagrees with you, they should all have the same love that Jesus would have showed for them. Our next characteristic we are going to look at is forgiveness. In Luke 23:34, it says, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." Really think about that. Jesus had been mocked, beaten, and crucified, and yet still show forgiveness. How? Put yourself in his shoes. How could God show forgiveness in that situation? After everything they did to him, he still found a way to forgive them. How can I say I look like Christ and refuse to forgive someone? How can I look to forgive someone when I can't forgive somebody that did something so small to me? When this happened to Christ and he could still forgive them, but I can't forgive of these little hits, these little slick comments, I still hold a grudge. But God can forgive of something so big. That is being held to a higher standard. That is being different. That is being a Christian. The world says get even. The world says we should hit back. that we should say something back, that we should be rude back. But Christ says, forgive. Take that hit. Take that comment. Take anything that's thrown at you and turn the other cheek. Just forgive. The next characteristic we are going to look at is Jesus' humility. Our verse we're going to look at is Philippians 2, 5 through 8. Let's turn over there together. Starting in verse 5. Let this mind be in you, which was also in Jesus Christ, who being in the form of God did not consider it robbery to be equal with God, but made himself of no reputation, and taking the form of a bondservant, and coming in the likeness of men. And being found in appearance as a man, he humbled himself and became obedient to the point of death, even a death on the cross. Jesus had every right to be upset and arrogant. He had every reason to say, no, I'm not going to go down there. Yet, he humbled himself and became a human. He became a servant. He came down and put himself in our shoes and suffered with this day-to-day life that we go through to give us an example to live by. He humbled himself and became just like us. Looking like Christ doesn't mean we have to be first. We don't always have to be in the spotlight. We don't always have to be this big name. Being a Christian is actually putting yourself last. You should be looking to put other people before you and putting yourself behind. Am I looking to be served? Am I looking for a handout? Am I looking for a gift? Or am I looking for other opportunities to serve others, to give to others? Our next characteristic we're going to look at is Christ's obedience. In John 14:15, it says, if you love me, keep my commandments. Jesus directly tells us in this verse to be obedient. Jesus himself was obedient to his Father. If we want to be like Christ, we must obey and keep his commandments. No matter what Jesus was told, no matter what he was asked to do, he was asked to be hung on a cross. And he still obeyed his Father without batting an eye. If we're going to look like him, we can't just say we love him. We must obey and do the things that we are called to do as Christians. Jesus didn't just talk about obedience. He lived it every day. If we want to look like him, obedience should be visible every single day in our lives. Do you display these characteristics? When people look at you, what do they see? Do they see someone that looks like the world? Or do they see someone that looks like Christ? Do they see somebody who hates? Do they see somebody who doesn't forgive? Someone who's arrogant? Someone who disobeys? Or do they see someone that tries to look like Christ every single day of their life? Do you love? Jesus did. Do you obey? Jesus obeyed no matter what was asked of him. Do you forgive? Jesus forgave in the worst circumstance you could think of. And are you humble? Jesus was a God and came to this earth. He sure was humble. So, our next question we want to face is, how do we learn to look like Christ? The answer to that question is we spend time with him. Think about how people pick up characteristics from their friends or parents, like the analogy we talked about later, how the son picks up characteristics from the dad and the daughter picks up characteristics from the mother. They do this by being around them. The more you're around someone, the more you start to look like them. You see what they do, you pick up the things they do, and you start to implement it into your own life. So, how do we spend time with Christ today? The first thing we do to spend time with Christ is we study his word. If you want to know Jesus and learn more about him, how do we do that? We read about him. We read about his life and the things we did, and we apply them to our lives. You can't be like someone you don't know. How do you expect to look like Christ if you don't read about how he was and who he was. You can't be like someone if you are blinded to the things they did. You can't implement those things if you don't know what they are. That's why studying your Bible is so important. We need to learn about him and his life and his teachings so we can start to look more like him. Our next thing we can do in our lives is surround ourselves with other Christians. 1 Corinthians 15:33 says, evil communications corrupt good habits. The people you surround yourself influence you, whether that be good or bad. If you surround yourself with people who are drunkards, people who smoke, people who cuss, it's going to be way easier to add those things to your life. It's going to be way easier to want to cuss, to want to drink, to want to smoke. But if you surround yourself with people who despise drinking, who despise smoking, it's going to put you in a way better position to not want to do those things because they see it as shameful just as you do. That is very powerful because your friends can either strengthen your faith or they can weaken it. Ask yourself, are the people closest to you pushing you towards Christ or are they pulling you away? It's okay to cut some people off. It's okay to cut people off. I would rather make this friend upset, make this friend mad at me, than spend eternity in hell, than be taken away from my Lord. Our next characteristic is we need to pray. 1 Peter 5:7 says, cast all your care upon him, for he cares for you. We need to talk to God to develop a dependence on him, a dependence to tell him our problems, to tell us the things we need, and just a dependence to talk to him. One way to build a relationship is to talk to someone. It is the same when we sit down and pray. When we talk to someone, we tell them about our lives, we teach them about ourselves. We need to talk to God and trust him with those things and expect God to help us with whatever we're going through and whatever struggles. Even Christ had time to kneel and pray to God. We can't become like him by ignoring the things to do. Even with his busy schedule, he's going and teaching, he's going and baptizing people. He still had time to get on his knees and pray. Do you? Jesus studied, Jesus prayed, Jesus served, and Jesus obeyed. Do you practice these things? Do you make time to learn more about him? To conclude this lesson, we must ask ourselves, do we look like Christ? We should be striving to learn more about him by getting closer to him every single day. We should look forward to getting on our knees and praising him and giving him thanks. It should not be a burden to go home and study your Bible. You should strive to do that. It should not be a bad thing to go on your knees and pray to God or pray before your meal. It should not feel like a burden. You should strive to do those things. You should be excited to do those things. If not, I need to look at my life and figure out which things I need to change. Which of these things I need to work on and improve on. I should go home and read and learn more and apply these things to my life. So, back to our beginning, be the black sheep. Jesus was the black sheep. He stood out in a crowd. Everyone looked at Jesus. He was perfect. Are you the black sheep? Do you separate yourself from the world? Or do you look like a white sheep in the background? Do you blend in with the things they do? Do you blend in with the things they say? Do you laugh at the dirty jokes? Do you blend in like a white sheep? Or do you stand out like a black sheep? The last question I'm going to ask you is, do you look like Christ? If you don't today, there is an opportunity to come and we will pray for you and we will give you an opportunity to express what you are feeling. Or if you haven't had the chance to be baptized into Christ, we will also give you that opportunity today as we stand and sing.